Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today, CXApp Incorporated just filed an 8K and I am seeing one crucial detail about their financial reporting that matters. Quick note, this is not financial advice, just my take on public filings for educational purposes. They attached a press release announcing their first quarter 2026 financial results, and while most of it is forward-looking and a bit vague, there is a specific mention in the filing that tells us something important about how they are communicating their performance. So let's dive into what this filing is actually revealing. CXAP Incorporated is filing a Form 8, which is a report for significant events. In this case, the big event is the release of their earnings for the first quarter that ended on the 31st of March 2026. They've attached this information as an exhibit. Now, CXApp Incorporated is a company whose stock trades under the ticker symbol CXAI. They also have warrants that trade under CXAI. The filing confirms their par value for common stock is a very small amount, $0.001 per share. This is common for publicly traded companies and refers to the nominal value assigned to each share. It also notes their warrants to purchase common stock. These are financial instruments that give the holder the right, but not the obligation, to buy a certain number of shares of the company's stock at a specific price before a certain expiration date. This filing is dated May 13, 2026, and it is reporting on events that happened up to that point. The key takeaway from this particular 8K is how they are presenting their financial results, especially in relation to regulatory information. The main point here is that CXApp Incorporated has issued an earnings press release. This is standard practice for public companies to share their quarterly financial performance with investors. They've included this press release as Exhibit 99.1 to this filing. Now here is the really important part. The filing explicitly states that the information in the earnings press release, including the financial results, is considered furnished and not filed under certain sections of the Securities Exchange Act. This is a critical distinction when information is furnished. It means the company is providing it, but not necessarily taking on the same level of legal responsibility or liability as if it were formally filed as part of their core financial statements in documents like a 10Q or 10K. Essentially, the company is treating this press release as supplementary information, not as a primary, legally binding financial disclosure subject to the same scrutiny. This is a way some companies manage information flow, but it can also mean investors need to be extra careful about the data presented in these press releases versus what appears in their official SEC filings. Following that, we have Item 7.01, which deals with Regulation FD disclosure. Regulation FD, or fair disclosure, is a rule that requires public companies to share any material information with all investors at the same time. Again, this section is referencing the information in Item 2.02, which we just discussed. This means that any disclosure they make under Regulation FD is linked to what they've already put out in their earnings press release. This reiterates the same important point about the earnings press release. It is being furnished, not filed. Companies do this as a way to disseminate information quickly, but it means that the detailed audited financial statements, which offer more robust assurances, will typically come later in their quarterly report, the 10Q. So, while the press release gives us a snapshot, it is not the complete picture with the same level of regulatory weight. Finally, under Item 9.01, which covers financial statements and exhibits, we see a list of what is included. Exhibit 99.1 is indeed the earnings press release dated May 13, 2026. This is where the actual financial numbers for the quarter would be found within the press release itself. However, this 8K filing doesn't contain those numbers directly. It points us to that exhibit. Without having the actual press release content, we can't analyze specific financial figures like revenue, profit, or expenses from this filing alone. The filing is signed off on May 13, 2026 by Karim P. Sheikh, who serves as the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of CXApp Incorporated. This confirms the report's authenticity and the leadership's awareness of the information being filed. This filing is pretty straightforward, mostly confirming the release of an earnings report rather than delving into deep financial specifics within the 8K itself. The critical takeaway is the emphasis on the information being furnished, rather than filed, which is a common distinction for earnings press releases that are then incorporated into more formal filings like the 10Q. It highlights the importance of distinguishing between preliminary announcements and official SEC reporting. Given that we don't have the actual earnings press release content here, it is hard to say if there were any particularly surprising numbers that would warrant a deeper dive. But the way they are presenting it sets a certain tone for how investors should interpret this immediate information. Oh, and the research tools I actually use are linked in the description. They help keep this channel going. That is my take. Stay decoded if this analysis was valuable. Hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Check the Discord link below.